Hey everybody. My hair. Look at my hair. I'm a narcissist. It's a mess. That's what a good productive morning will do for you. You don't even care about what you look like. At least I have my priorities straight. Let's see some of these features here. Okay. My name is David Morin, and I am 47 years old. I'm a father of four. I've been in the fitness industry, made a career, so to speak, out of it since my divorce was finalized in 2001, 2002. Now, my ex-wife, she was big into bodybuilding. She met a guy in the gym. That was the end of our relationship. Uh, I chose to get into fitness, the gym, exercising, because I was a workaholic, 60 hours a week, provided for my family. And I saw the object of my affections abandon me for someone who was bigger, more muscular. Um, so obviously I was like, man, have I been missing something here? Is this something that I need to work on? So I took up the gym. Long journey. I moved to New York to be closer to my sons. And then in the process of going through all this soul searching and kind of heartache and loss and confusion and abandonment, I discovered how fitness is a positive influence on my life. Now, flash forward, I've had a series of, let's say, 3 relationships. One of those relationships resulted in a second set of children, twins, which I'm super proud of. But every single relationship since the inception of my dedication to fitness resulted in a breakup. And so these are patterns that we find ourselves in these patterns of repeating the same mistakes. And of course, we are the initiators in most cases. It's easy to look back and to blame someone else. But I'd like to give you a little bit of testimony, my story that is really culminated in the last 2 or 3 years since 2015. So around 2015, I'd reached my peak in terms of notoriety in the industry. Numerous fitness cover infomercials. Work was great. I was really killing it. I was finally at a point in my life where I felt like my relationships. I was with a girl who I wasn't necessarily passionately in love with, but after the numerous debacles of relationships and heartache, I found someone who was kind of like, let's not have a family. Let's not focus. Let's just focus on you having your space, I having my space. We can trust each other. If anything comes up, just don't lie to me. Tell me the truth. So it was kind of like we were friends with benefits. So it was interesting because in that dynamic, there was not a lot of expectations. There was only the expectation of don't lie, trust. So in that space, I thought it was really a successful space for me to grow. It was a dynamic in a relationship I'd never experienced before. So it allowed me to grow. It allowed me to accomplish a lot of things without the expectations and the dynamics of a traditional relationship, which I thought was really good for a change. So I took that opportunity to become very successful. I was very, very pleased. I was very successful. But then it all came crashing down. I had a series of health events. So I was a workaholic, working too hard, working out in the gym, doing 2-a-days, trying to stay lean. It's like covers on the magazines, and it's a very competitive industry to be in. Fitness industry is very fickle. It's not about what you've done. It's about what you're doing now. You can lose relevance really quickly. You're discarded if you're not relevant, and you're only as good as your latest cover or your latest bodybuilding show win, or your latest hit infomercial, or your $1 million viral or million view viral video. So you're easily discarded. There's new bodies that pop up in and out, and trying to stay relevant is a huge thing. There's a lot of pressure. So in the midst of all that pressure and me feeling like I needed to capitalize off of my momentum at the time, I was getting 40. I was turning 40, and I started resorting to alternative shortcuts, things that would help me get an advantage. And one of those things was, testosterone replacement therapy, TRT. And I was in this relationship with this woman who, was insistent, let me do the injections for you. I can help you. Trust me. These kind of things. It was a mistake, first of all, for me to choose to do TRT. Although I didn't know any way to keep up with the workload at 40 years old. So I eventually did capitulate to this kind of shortcut. And as men get older, you're more subject to andropause, depression. There's physiological effects where you just don't recover as fast. Psychologically, you don't feel like you're on top of your game. These are natural consequences of just getting older. And so to combat this kind of, wow, I'm going to miss my opportunity to capitalize off this momentum, I decided, regretfully so, to put my life in the hands of someone else who I thought I trusted. Anyway, she performed the injection improperly. Anyone in the medical field who could be watching this video knows very clearly that you're supposed to, when you inject, and you're supposed to aspirate the needle, because anything that you're injecting intramuscularly, you have to make sure that you're not on a major blood vessel, because you can inject the substance directly into the bloodstream and cause a cascade of health problems. So in this particular case, she did not aspirate the needle. She did directly inject testosterone into, an oil-based testosterone into my bloodstream, and then subsequently into my heart, and then subsequently arrested my respiratory system. I went into a pulmonary embolism. Basically, my lungs were flooded with fluids, and I experienced a series of physiological shutdowns and then was rushed to the hospital. Long story short, I went into a coma for 5 days in 2015 on October 4th. And while I was in that coma for 5 days, a lot had transpired. Now, I'm going to put that on hold for a second, because that's kind of like a moment in my life where the person that I was with, as a consequence of her actions and being afraid to take responsibility for perhaps would have been my death, had told numerous lies to my best friends in this circumstance, in this situation. And so let's fast forward to, I eventually come out of the coma, and on my birthday, I actually extubated myself. I saw myself above myself. I came out of my coma, and then I started the rehabilitation process, which during the time I was in the coma, I wasn't aware of my significant other at the time and what she was up to, okay? The fear that she was dealing with, and the extent of which she protected herself while I was in this very fragile state. Then when I woke up out of this coma, she, out of guilt, confessed that, she was saved by Jesus, that somehow this situation had brought her to God and to prayer. And of course, me being as a Christian, I was like, well, okay, that's maybe some good can come of this, So anyway, this woman and I, we didn't work out, because I'm a family man. I realized in part that this was an unfulfilling relationship, although unbeknownst to me, I thought we were still under the dynamic of trust. We still had a trusting relationship that we maintained. So I ended up meeting a woman that coincidentally I had met with this significant other at a dinner, a random kind of synchronous interaction, and instantly had a connection with this person, and never forgot that connection. So a year after, separating from this woman, by the way, this significant other that injected me improperly, she was a person that I brought into my life in terms of making money, the fitness industry, opportunities with sponsors that I had, becoming involved in the network of friends and relationships that cultivated not only, a support unit for her fitness endeavors, but hey, how you doing, Alex? Not only the support for the fitness industry and the journey that she was taking, but money. It resulted in a lot of monetary gain. So I'm going to get into this narcissist thing, but let me give you a little backstory about my experience, a little bit of my testimony. So, you know, this previous significant other who did the improper injections, her and I split up in 2018. Then I reconnect with this woman that I had met when I was with my ex at this random dinner. Never forgot that connection. And her and I engaged in a relationship. And it was a fantastic relationship that I would describe as almost dreamlike. The first year of that relationship seemed like it was just out of a storybook novel. The connection that we had, just the presence that she's very large on social media as well. So the presence and the impact that we had was very significant. A lot of people were commenting on how, wow, it's so good to see you guys have finally found each other. It was very, it became very aware that we were supposed to be together, that we had numerous kind of like signs from nature and signs from God and things like that, ultimately signs from God, that we were supposed to be together. Well, I realized really quickly that just like myself, I had suffered some relationship abuse and a divorce and some hardship in my past. She too, this new person that really I felt just completely head over heels with, had a numerous amount of childhood trauma and some very difficult scenarios from her childhood that she was not completely healed from. And the severity of these things, I think, probably can never be healed from. So there's a coming to the responsibility of knowing that loving this person will result in you kind of working through these things with them, or in fact carrying a bit of the burden, knowing that at particular points in time the trauma will emerge and you have to kind of work through it together. So all that was understood. Now, how does the narcissism come into play here and working out? Well, the narcissism comes into play because the fitness industry is full of damaged people. People turn to self-improvement, especially the instant gratification of superficially projecting your ideal self in a world where more and more motivation is needed, or you can fulfill a hole in yourself by providing some type of healthy, some type of energy, some type of motivation and inspiration to others. So there's a dark side to personally me kind of abandoning my own responsibility for really looking deep into my own trauma, and then just forget about fixing yourself and just do your best at projecting your ideal self and working on yourself every day, and just blindly going through the motions of the regiment of becoming a physically more attractive person. And instead of understanding the responsibility of the unresolved trauma, because we bring that into our relationships. And if we don't acknowledge that that is, in fact, no matter how good we look on the outside, if we don't address the fact that we're still that damaged person who's working with these environments to make ourselves look healed, to make ourselves look strong and healthy, sooner or later we have to face the fact that by simple virtue of us continuing this self-improvement process on a superficial level, we are in fact acknowledging the fact that we are unresolved. The more motivated that you are to fix yourself on the outside, typically, and this is just in the fitness industry. I know this is a vast generalization, but it's my observation in the fitness industry that most people in the industry that get worshiped, they have notoriety, that are just world-renowned super phenoms with millions of followers, they're the most damaged people. And fitness is a way for them to run away from truly healing that trauma and receiving the adulation and as many sycophants as they can to just band-aid themselves. So that's where fitness industry and narcissism come into play, because hurt people hurt people. And regardless of how integrated or how beautiful and how your best self is projected on a daily, the reality is that you will attract someone who maybe outwardly looks great, but on the inside is still desperately wounded. And Greg definitely had his struggles. I can get into that on a whole nother video, but and that's not a knock on Greg Plitt. Greg was an incredible person, but he carried a heavy load. Anyway, so this is when I get back to the relationship that I had with my most recent, the one that was so idyllic. Things started emerging, triggers, anger, control, manipulation, these kind of things. And I can tell you now that in retrospect that she was jealous of my ex, she was jealous of all these other people. And I was trying to understand that. And you know what? I was kind of gaslighting her, saying like, you're crazy, because there were some things I wasn't aware of. And let me explain how complicated this is and how I found myself between two narcissists, and how I have narcissistic tendencies, and how my mother was a narcissist. So you find the complexity of the dynamics involved here, and how I was attracting someone because I in turn created a life that projected my best self. And in reality, I had unresolved trauma. I had issues with myself that I was not addressing, that I was escaping into fitness and to receive gratification. You know, it feels good to be of a benefit to other people, and at the same time, be as strong as you possibly can be, as disciplined, and at least in some people's minds, you can be what you'd hope to be for yourself. And that is it seems like a lifeline. It seems like it's a narcissistic source. It's your it's a way to divert your attention from dealing with your issues and pursue a distraction that's actually healthy. It can be healthy. But anyway, I digress. Back to this coma and the fact that I was gaslighting this woman that I'm with. The relationship with this woman that we were both head over heels for a little while, and then, we separated because the numerous traumas from her childhood were rising up. And I was under this dynamic of understanding her past and creating a trauma bond with someone who now all of a sudden I felt compelled from, like I'm the healthy one, right? So like, I understand you've suffered a lot, so now I have to provide for your needs in terms of things that I'm not qualified to fix. I can't fix these things. I can just love, I can listen, I can try to understand. But I was also gaslighting this person because I didn't understand some fundamental things about what happened to me while I was in a coma. And so eventually my relationship with this woman split up, and we moved into separate places, and we gradually fell apart, and then she discarded me. Most recently, she discarded me in August of this year. We had plans to have children together and work through things. I thought the distance and the breakup would provide a more healthy dynamic where trust could be established, because there was this incessant kind of jealousy and projection of fear and her unresolved childhood trauma towards me. And I didn't understand where it was coming from, and I was telling her, like, you're irrational, you're being crazy, no matter what I did or what I tried to do. Now, here's something I failed to realize. This is where I failed, and I want to admit this publicly. Is while I was in a coma, uh, and I and it's interesting the timing of how I discovered this. Um, I tried to reconcile with the woman that discarded me, and I went. She cited that I was still having a relationship with my ex, which I was not. I was not having a relationship with her, but my ex had somehow manipulated her way into, I'm saved by Jesus. I want to stay in your friend zone. I want to be close to your family. Hey, look, I'm just innocent. I'm your friend. She wanted to be in the friend zone. And because she was there when I woke up from my coma, and because she had claimed to be saved by Jesus and these kind of things, it seemed as though that would be safe. That would be a good thing to do. Um, but little did I know, people do things because they want to control the outcome. The fear of loss is very high with people that have, let's say, narcissistic traits, right? So me being, I don't know what I was to this person, a trophy boy, or I can tell you that it seems like I was a trophy boy, because when we split up, it was something that her friends and her circle didn't know. So that when I appeared with my new love interest a year after we had split up, even though her and I remained friends, not with benefits, we didn't sleep together or anything like that, but we remained friends. A year later, I get with a new love interest, and all of the circle of my ex's friends were like, "Hey, I thought you guys were still together." So she received the public backlash, the shame, because she was still living under these false assumptions. She was projecting these false assumptions to all of her friends and her network about how her and I were still together, or that there was hope between us. And then when I emerged publicly with someone that I'm very much interested and in love with, she became very angry and aggressive for a couple of weeks, and then simmered down and tried to play the "I'm a Christian. Let's let's still be friends." Big mistake on my part. Big mistake. Um, I know this is all jumbled up, so thanks for being patient with me. But caught in between these two relationships, the previous relationship that I broke off, the one that administered the anabolics incorrectly, that I freely like I agreed for her to do this. I put my life in her hands, and then I ended up almost dying, and then eventually breaking that off. But while I was in that coma, some very critical things happened that affected years later, that affected the relationship with a more recent love interest. So let me break down these two relationships again, and thanks for bearing with me. I know it's complicated, but this is how my life and narcissism, and how not addressing the trauma and just trying to be my best self, projecting myself, receiving the ego gratification, receiving the notoriety, the success, all of that stuff was it's just a distraction to a certain extent. And so I was able to attract this new love interest. I'm very much in love with them. We're living together, almost a year we lived together. And during this time, this former relationship was kind of influencing my family, and was kind of trying to stay in the friend zone. And my new love interest was what could feel this kind of thing. And I wasn't quite sure why she felt so threatened, because I wasn't threatened, right? There were things that I wasn't aware of, and I wasn't threatened. So I would gaslight her and say, this is irrational. Why are you thinking this way? You're acting insecure. And I was I wasn't addressing her concerns. And I learned very much so that beyond my awareness and understanding, women have an intuition that's far superior to a man's rational mind. Um, so this is where it all gets interesting. So her and I split up. She discards me. She decides to move on with her life. Her and I were planning on having children together. We were on medication. She breaks up with me over the phone. She goes and gets in vitro fertilization. She does all these things, all these plans that we had together. She leaves and does all these things by herself. And then what results is I pursue, and then I'm labeled like a stalker, or that I'm not respecting her boundaries and all this. And I was really confused. And around the same time, so I reach out to my ex and say, I need you to do me a favor. You know, she thinks that you and I still have something. And even though there was a point where I went to you as a friend, and then I found myself in a compromised position, I didn't connect with you because I wanted an affair or love, or that I wanted some physical gratification, sex. I went to you because I was in this relationship where I wasn't being trusted. There was anger, there was fear, there was a projection, and there was all this unresolved trauma. And I went to this person just to have a conversation, to talk, and then I ended up finding myself in a situation that I had to say, hey, no, this is not what I want. I know what I want. And so this person, I go to this person when I'm having these difficulties, and I say, you claim to be my friend. You claim to be there for me. You and I, during the course of our relationship, I've built a lot of value in, with your daughter, with your family, with you, in terms of resources, in terms of help, in terms of, bringing you along in this fitness, thing, to where you've met lots of friends. You benefited from our relationships. I'm asking one simple favor for you. Would you do this for me? Would you write a letter to her and let her know we don't have anything going on, and that maybe your intentions were not the best, that maybe you were trying to influence my family and stay close, but it's to no avail, and that you respect the fact that I am in full pursuit and in full commitment with this person. She refused to do it. This is where I started waking up between the two people that I had attracted into my life, and how they both resulted in my unresolved issues, that fitness became this escape which attracted them. But yet the result was always the same. It was the demise of a relationship, because I hadn't focused on addressing myself. So this person refused to do it, and so I was beside myself. I reached out to several friends, and during this time I found out that this person had lied when I was in a coma, protecting herself from any legal action in case I died. So while I'm in my most vulnerable situation, while I'm in need, this person is protecting herself. So then when I wake up, she never says, I'm sorry, I was a little afraid. She never says all that. And I go on a campaign, people want to talk to me about what happened, and then I'm on the cover of Muscle Fitness. I'm telling my story to the world about being in a coma and all this stuff, and how I came back from it, and now I'm healthy again. I never mentioned this person to protect her publicly. Little did I know that she was protecting herself privately. So this resulted in this close proximity to her. If I'd have known that she was this kind of scared, betraying kind of person, in those moments, I would have discontinued my friendship with her, a long time ago. So here I am. I've had an entire relationship with a person that I've been gaslighting. I've been telling, you're crazy for thinking that, I have some loyalty to this person, when my loyalties to this person were all subject to this assumption that she actually was, religious now, that she was honest. Her intentions weren't to harm my relationship with her. I should have known better. So what does this all have to do with the toxic component of the fitness industry? You can think of numerous examples. There's numerous examples in the world right now where fitness industry couples, and how the overemphasis on being as attractive as possible physically results in you attracting people that may be attractive physically, but internally they have unresolved trauma. They have unresolved issues. It could be divorce. It could be, relationship, consecutive relationship issues. It could be from childhood abuse. It could be from verbal abuse from families. And my intention with discussing all of this with everyone is to help people understand that the fitness industry is completely self-absorbed for the most part. It's completely entrenched with people that are traumatized. So it may seem like a lot of these people are leaders, that they are, and I'm speaking strictly for myself. There's a lot of things that I've learned during this process of detangling myself from this person and this person. There's a lot of things that I have to take responsibility for in terms of how I attracted these people, and that fitness was basically an escape to not address my own wounds, but to help project this sense of arrogance, superiority, narcissism, self-importance, self-aggrandization, like I am some authority, some leader, some, just because I've accomplished some things doesn't mean that I know everything that there is to know about exercise physiology, or the body composition changes, or mental health, mental and physical health. This is a space that's full of what I would say are real experts, and they're giving you, real information, real data. Somebody like Ben Greenfield, or Dr. Huberman, or on the MMA side, Phil Dariu. Like these are exceptional strength and conditioning coaches, scientists, doctors, researchers, influencers. These are incredible resources and assets to address the organism from the inside out. Without that relationship, healthy dynamic between your internal state, your emotional state, and acknowledging, why am I doing something? Why am I doing this? Is there a need to do this because I am trying to fill some type of hole? What is it that's driving me, compelling me to train every day? Is it about what you're seeing in the mirror? Is it about this flexing of your ego, and getting the latest picture that will get you engaged with as many likes and fans and followers as possible, incentivized to be more self-centered, more narcissistic. It's streamlining people's behavior to focus on one particular type of behavior, which attracts these same type of people. We have to be careful with the signals. I have to be more aware and more careful about the signals that I send. And that all comes from my own dialogue, my internal dialogue with myself. And why am I doing certain things? Now, there's a lot of people that, there's a spiritual component to narcissism. I do believe there's a spiritual component to narcissism. I do believe that there's some biblical examples. Jezebel would be an example, that there is a spirit, and I've witnessed this. There is an energetic spiritual component that I do believe is, I don't want to get too irrational, in terms of, theological perspective, demonology, things like that. But there is a spiritual component to narcissism. There is an aspect with narcissism that is these are energies, these are spirits or energy fields that do attract. There are open doors. Those open doors, whether it's lying or adultery or cheating or drugs or porn or deceit and lying and all these things. I've participated in all these things, and I've attracted people that have participated in these things. I've been affected by people. I've been introduced to drugs and to porn and to all of these various things through relationships. And I've also introduced those things into new relationships. Of course, they were already exposed to these things, but that was fundamentally not my character. I was under the influence of something that I was unconscious of. There were things about this previous person that, because of my lack of awareness of their effect over my mind, how I was conditioned to want to have a relationship that had no drama, which this previous relationship fulfilled, that I was compelled to align myself with some of the things I was introduced to, right? And then I integrated some of that and brought that into a new relationship that actually was something that I think, would have been more along the lines of what I truly desire in my life: to be married, to do it right, to have children, to work together on a business together, to be entrepreneurs together, and to flourish as a couple with a family. That's ultimately what I want to do. It's ultimately what I wanted to do my entire life. I've tried to facilitate that, but to this point I have failed. And all I've tried to do, like most of us, is find healthy coping mechanisms. Now, using healthy coping mechanisms like fitness, strangely enough, attracts unhealthy people, because when you devote too much time to doing anything, there's an imbalance. And I devoted way too much time to how I look and my influence in the fitness space, and what validated me in terms of gratification, instead of putting that in its position and constructing a well-balanced life to where my financial needs, my emotional needs, psychological needs, my needs for intimacy and bonding, pair bonding, and building a healthy life with a person of like-minded balance. That was ultimately my goal. I may have found that person and blew it with this person, inadvertently, unconsciously so. I may have attracted this person, and for solely the purpose of detangling myself from this previous person's unconscious attachments to me. This kind of malignant, kind of self-serving, I'm going to keep my claws in you so that later on down the road, when I know that my presence, because I've kept it a secret, my presence in your life and my true intentions, I was able to keep a secret under this: I'm a Christian, I care about you, I would like to stay in touch with your family, and then influenced things. I may have gone through all of this to detach from both of these people and to learn that the root of why I got into fitness may have started off as some path to healing, but ultimately we become victims of our own actions again and again and again when we're not able to detach and use some honest self-reflection. Are we using some? Are we codependent with something or somebody, so compulsively so that we feel like without it we're less of a person? And that lets you know everything that you need to know about where you're at with a healthy ego, where you're at with your mental health, your mental and emotional health. Because without those two components, you may feel great immediately after you exercise, and that's a wonderful feeling. But when you go back home and nothing's changed, and now you've got to do the inner work, that's where the coffee is, you can smell it. And that's where the beginning of addressing the fundamental things that are holding you back from your next level of growth are becoming more and more blatantly aware to yourself. And that's where I'm at right now with uh, the state of the world, and with the incessant compulsive narcissistic tendencies of people in the industry, in the fitness industry. And I live in Miami, is full of these kind of people that, look at me, look at me. um, and most of these people, quite honestly, are deeply, um, they're sad. They're sad people inside. Or maybe I'm just projecting. Maybe it's me. Maybe I'm sad, but in my sadness, there's a realistic grounding to understanding that, accepting where you are, and and sharing where you are as a consequence of your actions, and knowing that you out there that are listening, you're not alone. That you know, finding yourself in a codependent or narcissistic relationship where people are impressed by what you project. They feel validated, and their supply from you, the supply that you provide, the illusion of, he's a big time fitness guy, or he's been on every magazine cover, and he's this and he's that. That supply that they receive, it gives them that little boost, and now they want to show the world how, oh, I'm with him, and we're together, and we're this and we're that. Oftentimes it's not just their fault. It was my fault for projecting this person that was the idealized version of myself, the person that was doing everything I could to become the best version of myself, and yet I wasn't able to acknowledge certain things that was still attracting me to these kind of people. And these kind of people, I say, are just like me. They are doing their best to become um, the best version of themselves, but quite often are neglecting the authentic reality of the inner work and the opportunity. And to sum it all up here, ladies and gentlemen, the real opportunity for fitness resides inside. And when we are in touch with um, that very special, sacred place in ourselves that allows us to see everyone as equally the opportunity to heal ourselves, to respect ourselves through service and respect to others. When we acknowledge that there is another person, we use our empathy, and then that connection in turn helps to cultivate this sense of well-being in ourselves through connecting to the authentic individual, giving them your time, giving them your respect, addressing them in the highest order, with the most purest mindset, in terms of their potential, who they are, and just acknowledging, listening, respecting, reciprocity, all of these things. So, guys, yeah, the fitness industry isn't what it seems to be. There's a lot of smoke and mirrors involved. And sad to say, I hate to tear down your heroes. You saw Callum von Mager, did meth and jumped out of a window, and now he's in a coma. We are not superheroes. People in the fitness industry are not superheroes. You can look at Ronnie Coleman as a perfect example of that. 7-time, 8-time Mr. Olympia. Now he's pretty much paralyzed. There are certain people that have transitioned very nicely. Jay Cutler or Dorian Yates. There are people that are doing very well, seemingly so, but deep inside, uh, they're the ones that are probably hurt the most. And so don't, I'm not trying to turn you off to following your favorite fitness influencer or celebrity, but what I am trying to point out is that the ultimate reality that they face is the more extreme they're trying to compensate for their wounds, the more fabulous they look on the outside in most cases. And the more imbalanced that they are, and the more destructive they tend to become when they open up with someone else about their vulnerabilities. The amount of fear that they have about being vulnerable and about disarming all of the things that they've created in their life that give them a sense of power. They have to surrender those things to their significant other if they really want a relationship. And so just be aware. Just be aware that you have the potential to, you don't have to go through this idealization. You don't have to idolize somebody to resonate with them and to incorporate some strategies to become a better person. These are all, we're all working through this at our own pace, and it is all about the relentless pursuit of your own, best efforts on a daily basis, one step in front of the other, just doing your best. The journey is long. It can get dark. There's many times your heart would be broken. I would never have thought that I would be 47 years. I've said this so many times in my life. I never thought that I would be 40 years old and be on the cover of all these magazines. And then flip side, I never thought I'd be 47 years old thinking that I had met the person that I was going to spend the rest of my life with. And then having all of that pulled out from under me. And then knowing that not only did I lose that, but I co-created that undesirable outcome because I was unaware that I was actually keeping someone in my circle that was actually poisoning the water of my new relationship. And I was defending this person because I was unaware of their true intentions because I was in a coma. So there's a terrible sense of injustice that I feel, but ultimately I can't control either one of those outcomes. I can control my own awareness, and I can control what I'm saying here to you today. And what I'm saying is that the fitness industry is fucked up. It's fucked up, So I would advise anyone who's interested in getting into becoming an influencer or making a brand of themselves in fitness, just be true to you and do extraordinary things that build a relationship with other people. And it's very simple. Just be of service to other people each day. Just reach out, say a kind word of encouragement. Really the youth in today's world need more encouragement than anybody else. So that's what the youth need. The youth and the young people, the generations that are coming up, that's how we can make ourselves more influential, by empowering those young people to be the best, most confident human beings that are more and more aware of what they're capable of. That's true inspiration. That's true community, and that's true fitness for me. So yeah, guys, ladies and gentlemen, thanks so much for hanging in there. I'm going to publish this. I'm going to try to do a little more series of lives where I can talk to people a little more. What I like to do too is get a little more precise and in depth about the subject matter, so that I can be of greater service to people. So I appreciate you watching. Happy Sunday, everybody. I hope everyone sets some really, sound goals for this week. And don't get discouraged if you're not checking off every box, because you're not in a box, you're human. So give yourself a little bit of breathing room. And as long as that list persists, you're going to achieve whatever you wish in life. So just make sure that list persists and that you're constantly attacking that and breaking that down, and you'll eventually get where you want to go. But you don't have to worship other people, because trust me, the grass isn't greener on the other side. The grass that you're cultivating because you're true to yourself and in your heart, and that's where the water needs to go. That's where you can, that's what you can control. So again, thanks for listening, and I hope you guys have a great Sunday. So just remember, everything is not what it seems, my friends. The world is full of deception, and the only truth is you and what you can control and influence on a daily basis when it comes to spreading the optimism, the optimized outlook that you have, the hope, and the motivation that you can share through walking your own path, truly walking your path. So, David Morin signing off. Why the fitness industry is an epidemic of narcissists, and why fitness is just a band-aid for most people's broken lives. See ya.